All right, so there was another developer stream today, one of our many previews leading up to the release of Edge of Fate, and the message that I'm getting from this is that everybody needs to stop being so freaking miserable all of the time. Let me back it up for a little bit. Now, the stream itself wasn't revolutionary, nothing groundbreaking, really nothing new. It was essentially a recap of all of stuff that we had already seen. There was a small portion of a developer video that was released or unreleased, I really don't know, I couldn't find it anywhere, along with the showcase of the new exotics that we had already seen, along with a lot of the creator footage that we had already seen. Basically, nothing new was shown with the exception of a new weapon archetype, that being the Crossbow, which is a new weapon type, period. It's going to be in the heavy slot. We'll go over that a little bit later. But the real kicker to this was the community reaction in the YouTube chat and the Twitch chat, in the streamers chats that I was in, Astacross and Daddle's chat, Follow Plays chat. I was in all of these, just watching what people were thinking, just kind of monitoring the response before I made any sort of video, because to be honest, I really didn't even want to make anything after watching that, because there was quite literally nothing to discuss besides, oh wow, there's now going to be a crossbow in the game. Destiny Rising 1, Destiny 2 keeps on failing. Now, where I say people need to stop being so miserable all the time is that the vast majority of the actual content in this live stream was showing off how the new stuff was going to be prioritized in the sandbox of Edge of Fate rather than all of the old stuff, and they're going to be doing that in a couple of ways. First of all, there's the new armor sets, that which we've known about. The armor sets are going to be giving particular bonuses. I believe there's going to be 6 at launch, and they're all going to do unique things. That's going to incentivize players to grind out new armor. There's going to be the new weapon archetypes, which are going to be very good, and there's also going to be bonuses associated to the artifact. That's to say, if you're using gear which was introduced in current season, you are going to get stacking bonuses from 0 to 15% in terms of damage mitigation for your armor, and weapon damage bonuses from 0 to 10% for your weapons. Now, all of these are going to rotate. There's going to be a select set of old released exotics and old released exotic armors, which are going to qualify, just so that you're not forced to use the 3 pieces of new exotic armor or the 3 new exotic weapons that are released in a season. I think that would be ridiculous. They need to have a healthy rotation of exotics. In my opinion, I think all exotics should be included in this, but to incentivize people to try new things, I think that this is a good thing. However, the thing that most people, I feel, were getting their britches stitched all up in a bunch over was the fact that a little lore drop, a little piece of information was put out there where people have been trying to ask for quite a while of the conversion between old gear and new gear. How is that going to be affected? A question I have been trying to ask in particular has been, what are the stat conversions going to look like? For example, a 30 mobility piece of armor, is that going to turn into a 60 stat weapons, or is that going to turn into a 45? Or we'll see when that comes. That question still hasn't been answered. But the armored tier situation and the weapon tier situation has been answered. None of the gear that we currently have now is going to exceed tier 3 once it has been converted come Edge of Fate. Now, this has a lot more implications in terms of armor than it does in terms of weapons, because with the tier 5 weapons compared to the tier 3 weapons, the tier 5, you're really only getting the extra 2 enhanced perks and the enhanced barrels and magazines, and the hull foil stuff. Those are things that you can live without, but with the tier 5 armor, you're missing out on quite a lot of stats. You're missing out on an extra energy slot for the purpose of build crafting. And generally speaking, this means that once you have new armor that conforms to the tier 5, the new tier 5 gear sets, it is going to be 100% in your best interest to just delete all of your old armor. That's what I plan to do. I do not intend to keep any of my old armor, maybe with the exception of my exotic class items, because at this moment it appears that those aren't going to be affected by any of these changes, but all of my other exotics, all my other legendary armor pieces, those are going to get deleted as soon as I have new comparable replacements that are tier 4 and above. And oh boy, people are upset. The average Destiny player is somebody that you cannot pay. You literally cannot pay for them to clean out their vault. You can't pay for them to delete a weapon that they have been holding on to since Shadowkeep, with the fear that, oh, it may be good one day, or oh, this role may be relevant eventually, with, oh, this Kindled Orchid that hasn't been in the game for quite a long time, even though, you know, admittedly, Kindled Orchid is a bit of a bad example for this. But oh, this random weapon that I can just get out of my collections at any time, I'm just going to hold on to this just in case, just in the off chance it's good. Hey, wait a second, I haven't used this, I haven't updated this thing is still the base power that it got updated to when the latest DLC released, when Beyond Light was released, or whenever Sunsetting was introduced. It's still the base power. I haven't even infused it. You want me to get rid of this weapon that's been collecting dust since 2019? Yeah, okay, buddy, you're the problem. Now, I am strawmanning a significant part of the community, but that definitely is the most vocal, the most passionate part of the community. Most people that are active on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, in the YouTube comment sections, in Twitch chat, in the YouTube live chat, in the actual replies underneath all these Twitter posts, you know, the people that are spewing hatred, some would say, the people that are attacking the developers and really just making everybody's lives miserable, are the ones who this is directly applying to. From my point of view, Destiny is a looter shooter. What is the point of having a game with thousands upon thousands of different weapons, all with, you know, unique different perk combinations, if you are only going to sit down and entrench yourself using the same things? Yes, I'm looking at you people who have only used the same hand cannon in Crucible, the same 120s, the people who are just being little piggies and just bull rushing with Inquisitors in Crucible. Pick up something new, use something new, experiment, use different systems, just find different guns, use different armors, play the game the way John Bungie intended, and I promise you that you're going to be happier for it. Half, if not more than half, of the fun of Destiny is just getting into activities and grinding for loot. That is, the end game isn't hoarding a big pile of gear and sitting on it and then dying for it. You know, fun fact, we had a dungeon all about the horrors and the morality behind just hoarding gear and dying with it. It's called Grasp Avarice. It came free with your paid 30th anniversary expansion. You should go play it. It's pretty good. It teaches you a good lesson about just sitting there and hoarding loot. So if you've played Grasp Avarice and you don't understand the morals and, you know, the life lessons behind using something new and trying something different instead of just hoarding all the stuff that you have, you know, maybe you should reconsider which game you're playing. But to stop myself from being too negative, I'm actually going to go over and recap the stream. You know, for the first bit, we got a updated look at the firing range, but we've seen that before. We got a in-depth look at the 3 new exotics. I can't pronounce any of them, but we got that new Warlock exotic that makes your Hellions better. I think that this is going to be the best of the 3. We got the new Hunter exotic that makes your threaded knife, your threaded needle just a little bit better. I think that's probably going to be the worst of the 3. And then we have our Thor's Hammer Titan Hammer. I think that this is probably not going to be as good as people think it is, specifically because of issues with the perfect recall and the timing on that. You know, the servers, you know, say what you will about the actual latency, but behind like perfect draws and perfect recalls. But I'm not sure how this is going to work in a live environment. I would like to do some testing on it, but if you enjoy this kind of gameplay, I wish you the best. I'm personally not going to be using this. We got a new gameplay look at the Savath Inspired. This is going to be coming back alongside some new Banes, you know, a couple new shield modifiers, enemies that spawn little baby screams, new melee modifiers, and oh look, this is Crossbow gameplay right here. This was the most interesting point of the entire live stream. It is a heavy weapon. There is only going to be legendary versions of this at launch, probably going to be one from the environment and another one coming out during the raid. If you hit a headshot and kill them, you're going to be able to hold E to interact to pick up the ammo. This works in both PvE and and PvE. So in theory, if you are good enough, you can just run around and reuse the same crossbow bolt for the entire match of Crucible. It is possible. It is confirmed. You can. There's no expiry. There's no expiry on this ammo unless you die or if you don't pick it up quick enough. So go get your ammo and reuse the gun the entire time. And it looks like it does an absolutely massive amount of damage. I am very, very happy to have a new weapon type. This is the first new weapon type we've gotten since, I believe, the trace rifle. Not the trace rifle, but technically the rocket sidearm, if you count that as a new archetype rather than being a new weapon type. But at the same time, new weapon type, then it was technically the bow. Forgive me if the bone forsaken. Forgive me if I'm spreading many misinformation. But the crossbow, it is very exciting. New heavy weapon. It's going to shake up the meta. It's not going to have a magazine slot. It's going to have bolts similar to the way actual bows have. We didn't get any actual good perk previews, but we can see that the crossbow that they're using in the preview does have access to frenzy and a vanguard and a certain perk called Vanguard Determination that I can only reckon that it can only determine to be included on the crossbow, which means that the one that they're using is probably the ritual weapon of the season. There could be which very well could mean that this is a ritual crossbow, there could be a raid crossbow, and there could just be a world drop crossbow, but this is only a heavy weapon because the other archetype of bow that they are introducing is the heavy bow. It is going to be an over-penetrating heavy bow, but we have known about that for a while. And it's just going to go into the primary and or energy slot, depending on if it has a elemental type. But yeah, you're seeing that in the gameplay right now. I thought that was the most interesting part of the entire live stream, combined with the fact we see some new Banes and we see some more footage of the returning Savathun Spire. But returning to Savathun Spire, that is just par for the course. It is just normal stuff that we've seen before. As always, I think that everybody did a great job. I'm proud of DMG, specifically Dylan right there. He's my special little boy. No, I'm just trolling, but no, I mean, once again, I'm a bit disappointed that the stream didn't go into depth a little bit more. I felt kind of a little bit of a bait and switch, but this is only so much they can show us until the actual DLC is released that we haven't seen in the creator summaries that they made. I do not think we're getting a Vidoc at this point. I feel that we would have gotten it by now, or at least confirmation that we wouldn't have gotten it by now. But this is what I was talking about earlier on screen right now. There's going to be a rotator selection of exotics that are featured in the current season that are going to be compatible with the new system of the rotating 0 through 15% DR and the 0 through 10% extra weapon damage. So some interesting things I see. You got your Lumina there, Graviton Lance, Lodestar, Winterbite, for example. Winterbite is going to be super interesting. Same thing with Microcosm. Outbreak Perfected, Choir of One is going to be really good. Theoretically, all of the new exotics, as always, are going to be there. Same thing with No Land Beyond, even though it was technically introduced in this current season. But yeah, no, besides that, I have absolutely nothing else to say besides stop being miserable. If that applies to you, use something new, because I'm excited. All the new archetypes, all the new gear, it looks amazing. Spread joy, make someone else happy. There's a limited quantity of joy in the world, and you have the power to add to it. So if you haven't already today, try to make someone else's day better. I hope each and every single one of you has a great day. Take care. Until next time, I'm proud of you.